Mystery Island, searching for the ancient truth, handed down to me and you.
Hello, I'm glad you're watching our Day 3 video for our drive-through VBS. In Days 1 and 2, we've seen God as the one true God and the God who is almighty. You know, the 3 O words we learned about? Well, tonight, we're going to see what kind of ruler God is. Hey kids, have you ever wanted to be maybe a king or a queen? Or maybe in our country you've dreamt about being the president. Well, at some point, many kids dream about being one of these leaders. Why do you think that is? You know, some boys and girls love the splendor and majesty of the king. You know, the palaces or the castles, the big houses they live in, or the fancy parties that they have, or all the riches like the crowns and jewels that they have. You know, other kids might love the respect and honor that they get. You know how you bow down before a king or a queen, or it's an honor to shake the hand of the president. You know, and still others love the power that these leaders have, like the king leading his people off to war. Well, to be a ruler is to lead your country in everything, from how it cares for and protects its people to how it encourages them to do good or keeps them from doing bad and wicked things. You know, rulers are really special people, but some can make huge mistakes or just be plain bad, while others do mostly good, and we call them a good ruler. Well, tonight, we're going to learn about a ruler who is greater than any king or president could ever be. God is that ruler. And in the Bible, we meet a man named Isaiah. He was a man that the one true God spoke through and told him to write down exactly what he saw. We find what he wrote in the book of Isaiah, which is in the Old Testament, because it happened before Jesus came to earth. You know, what we celebrate at Christmas time. Well, in chapter 6, Isaiah tells us when and what he saw. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died. Now, let's stop there. King Uzziah was a great king over the country or nation of Israel. He was known all around the world for his armies and the equipment they had, the weapons he developed. Well, he ruled the nation for 52 years. Now, that's a long time for any ruler to rule his people. But just like King Uzziah, all human rulers, whether good or bad, they're going to eventually die, and their rule or their reign is going to be over. Well, this is the first way that God is better than any other ruler. His reign never comes to an end. God is eternal. When others die, we will find God seated on his throne as the greatest ruler we can know. God is always in charge. Well, Isaiah goes on to say that I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up. You know, a throne is a special place where the king would do his business, like meeting foreign leaders, settling disputes, making laws, and so forth. This was the place he ruled from, and so the throne was the symbol of his power. Well, God is sitting on a throne, and it says, but God's throne isn't like any other because it's high and lifted up. It's showing the importance and position God has above all other rulers. God is the most powerful ruler there will ever be. Now listen to what else it says in verse 1. Isaiah says, again, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Now at that time in history, the importance and greatness of a ruler was seen by the royal robe he wore. And the longer it was, the more important. Did you notice how long God's robe was? You know, it just wasn't a dinky little thing, or just reach down to the floor, or go a little bit across the room. No, it filled the entire temple. God's importance is seen here as far beyond any other human ruler. Isaiah goes on to tell us some incredible things that he saw. He saw some angels called seraphim standing above the throne. And in verse 3 they said, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Notice the two things the angels said. First, they said, God is holy, holy, holy. Holiness is such an important characteristic of God that it's repeated 3 times. Holy speaks of the fact that God is like no other. God is pure and without sin. He is good. He can do no wrong or evil. He is just. God is not like us. He never does anything wrong or mean. God's holiness is seen later in Isaiah, where God says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." God is so much greater than us. Remember, God is holy. Now, did you see the second thing that the angels talked about? They were praising God when they said the whole earth is full of his glory. The glory of God shows how great and almighty he is. The whole earth shouts out the greatness and the fame of God. Now, the whole earth isn't shouting, but rather it's showing forth the amazingness of God and putting it on display for us to see. We see the greatness of God in what he has made all around us. The mighty mountains, maybe it's the beautiful sunrise, maybe it's the birds singing in the trees. No matter where we look in nature, we see the awesome glory of God and what he's made. Isaiah sees God as eternal, powerful, the best there is, holy, and glorious. What a great ruler. But now let's fast forward a few hundred years. The God we find in the New Testament, that's after Jesus was born, is the same great and holy God we found in Isaiah's time in the Old Testament. Jesus, being God in the flesh, went through the same trials and temptations you and I face, but yet he was without sin. Peter wrote about Jesus that he committed no sin. Jesus, being God in the flesh, is the exact same as the God Isaiah saw. Holy, pure, sinless, just, merciful, and so on. In fact, the book of James tells us that every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. God is the same good and holy ruler in the New Testament as Isaiah told us about in the Old Testament, and he is the same today and forever. Israel's greatest and most beloved king wrote a song praising God. In it he says, "When I look at your heavens and the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the son of man that you care for him?" Remember, all that God created shows his glory. Here we see the beauty, the vastness, and the marvels of space that God created. And in comparison to these, who are we? Even David, as a great king, he felt insignificant. Yet, this great ruler, this holy God that we've learned about, who's greater than any ruler that we could ever see on this planet, any king, any president, this great God, this holy God, he knows you, he cares for you, and he loves you. Your response to such truth should be to thank God and to follow God and to listen to what the Bible says. And you can do that just by trusting him and praying to him to follow him. And you'll learn more about that, especially tomorrow as we learn about Jesus in our Day 4 video. Well, we'll see you tonight at our drive-through VBS between 6 and 7:30.
Mystery Island, searching